In the cradle of ancient deserts where empires rose and vanished like mirages beneath the burning sun, a child was born whose destiny was written not on earth, but in the stars themselves. A child who would unite warring nations, challenge the mightiest kings, and forge an empire stretched across 3 continents. His name would echo through temples, scrolls, and the hearts of free men. He was not merely a conqueror of lands, he was a conqueror of injustice, a liberator of the oppressed, and the architect of humanity's first declaration of rights. This is not just the story of a king. This is the rise of a legend. This is the dawn of Cyrus the Great and the Persian Empire. 1. In the shadow of the Zagros Mountains. In the rugged lands of ancient Persia, where mountains rose like the spines of a sleeping giant, a child was born destined to change the fate of nations. His name was Cyrus, son of a humble king, yet whispers foretold he would rule the world. Legends say even the stars bowed in silence the night he arrived. No one knew that from this desert cradle a new era would soon awaken. The world was about to witness the rise of a true king, chosen by destiny. 2. A prince of prophecy. As a young boy, Cyrus walked among shepherds and warriors, learning strength with humility. Sages spoke of an eagle that guarded his cradle and lions that knelt before him. Every voice in Persia echoed a single truth. This child was not born merely to rule, but to liberate. With eyes full of vision and a heart untouched by fear, Cyrus grew into a leader unlike any before. The prophecy had begun to unfold. 3. The oppressed Persians rise. At that time, Persia lay under the dominance of the Median Empire, ruled by King Astyages. The Persians were treated as lesser people, their pride caged in silence. But among them stood Cyrus, who ignited a flame in every heart. With loyalty to his people and divine conviction, he raised the banner of revolt. It was not a battle for land, it was a fight for Persian identity. 4. The fall of the Median king. Astyages marched his armies to crush the rebellion, but fate turned against him. His own troops, inspired by Cyrus, laid down their swords and embraced the new rising king. With honor and mercy, Cyrus entered the Median capital without bloodshed. He did not seek revenge, but unity. In that moment, the Persian Empire was born, not by tyranny, but by liberation. 5. The birth of an empire. Cyrus now ruled 2 nations, not as a conqueror, but as a unifier of peoples. He declared that every tribe and kingdom would retain its beliefs, its languages, its traditions. Never before had a ruler governed through respect rather than force. The world had seen kings of conquest, but now it witnessed the rise of a king of justice. The empire began to breathe as one body with many hearts. 6th march toward the west. Cyrus turned his gaze toward Lydia, the land of wealth and philosophers. King Croesus, ruler of Lydia, believed his walls were unbreakable and his riches endless. But Cyrus marched not with arrogance, but with divine certainty. He did not seek gold, he sought the unity of civilizations. The drums of Persia thundered across Asia Minor, announcing the arrival of a new age. 7. The defeat of Croesus. Cyrus's army moved with the speed of desert wind, outmaneuvering Lydia's mighty chariots. Croesus, once the richest man alive, found himself a prisoner of destiny. But instead of execution, Cyrus spared his life and made him an advisor. The nations watched in awe, for mercy had triumphed over vengeance. Persia was not rising through fear, it was rising through wisdom. 8. The empire of many peoples. The Persian Empire now stretched from the Aegean Sea to the mountains of Central Asia. Yet no temples were burned, no gods were outlawed, no cultures erased. Cyrus issued proclamations of freedom to all, allowing people to worship as they wished. He believed that true strength came not from oppression, but from harmony. It was this belief that transformed conquests into loyal alliances. 9. The Babylonian Challenge. To the west stood Babylon, the ancient city of kings and hanging gardens, ruled by Nabonidus. Babylon had fallen into corruption and religious conflict. Its people prayed for deliverance from their own king. Cyrus heard their cries and prepared to march, not as a destroyer, but as a restorer of justice. The greatest city in the world was about to witness the arrival of a king unlike any before. 10. The peaceful conquest of Babylon. Under darkness and silence, Persian troops diverted the Euphrates River and entered Babylon without a single battle. The city awoke not to flames, but to freedom. Cyrus freed captives, restored temples, and declared peace. The people hailed him not as a conqueror, but as a liberator sent by the gods. In Babylon, a king from the desert had become a legend. 11. The Cyrus Cylinder First Charter of Human Rights. Cyrus decreed that all enslaved peoples would be freed, including the Jews who had long been captive in Babylon. His words were carved into a cylinder of clay, now known as the world's first Declaration of Human Rights. He stated that every human being had the right to worship freely and live in dignity. Kings before him ruled with chains, but Cyrus ruled with laws of compassion. His empire became a sanctuary of justice in a world of tyranny. 12. The Builder of Nations. Cyrus began organizing his empire with brilliance unmatched by any ruler. He divided it into provinces called satrapies, each led by trusted governors. Roads were built across deserts, connecting cities and cultures like threads of silk binding a mighty tapestry. Trade flourished, languages thrived, and ideas traveled freely. Under Cyrus, the Persian Empire became the world's first true superstate. 13. A king beloved by all. Unlike rulers who lived in golden cages, Cyrus walked among his people as a servant king. He listened to their concerns, shared their burdens, and upheld justice. Persians, Medes, Babylonians, Jews, and Lydians all called him their protector. His name was praised in temples of foreign gods, for they believed he was chosen by heaven itself. The heart of the empire beat in loyalty to a king of righteousness. 14. Legacy of leadership and law. Cyrus believed leadership was a sacred responsibility, not a privilege. His laws were fair, his administration wise, and his governance inclusive. He created systems that would outlast his life and guide future kings. Unlike other empires that crumbled after their founder, Persia continued to grow. Cyrus had not only built an empire, he had built a civilization. 15. The final campaign. Even in his later years, Cyrus remained relentless in guarding his empire's borders. He marched eastward to defend his people from nomadic tribes who threatened his lands. Though age had touched his body, his spirit burned brighter than ever. With sword in hand and conviction in heart, he fought not for conquest, but for protection. His final battle would become the final chapter of his mortal journey. 16. The death of a king, the birth of a legend. Cyrus fell in battle not as a king hidden behind walls, but as a warrior defending his people. His soldiers wept, and nations mourned across continents. He was buried in a simple tomb in Pasargadae with the inscription, "O man, whoever you are, I am Cyrus, who founded the Persian Empire. Do not grudge me this piece of earth." In death, as in life, he remained humble. 17. The empire endures. Though Cyrus was gone, his empire did not collapse in chaos like others. His principles of tolerance and justice became the pillars of Persian rule. Successors like Darius the Great expanded the empire further, guided by the laws Cyrus had established. The empire reached from India to Egypt, greater than any before. It was not an empire of swords alone, but of hearts won through dignity. 18. Influence on the world. Greek philosophers admired Cyrus as the ideal king. Jewish scriptures called him the anointed of God. Eastern civilizations followed Persian administrative models for centuries. Even modern governments would one day look to his principles as the foundation of human rights. His influence crossed time, faith, and culture. Cyrus had become a universal symbol of righteous leadership. 19. The eternal flame of Persia. Empires rose and fell across ages, but the Persian spirit remained alive. Through art, language, poetry, and memory, the legacy of Cyrus burned like an undying flame. He had shown the world that empire need not be built on fear. It could be forged through respect. Long after his dynasty ended, his example continued to guide humanity. His story was no longer Persian history, it was world history. 20. The King of Kings. Historians would call him Cyrus the Great, but his own people knew him simply as the father of the empire. He had united nations without destroying them, ruled without cruelty, and conquered not just lands but the hearts of millions. In every temple, every scroll, and every legend, his name was spoken with reverence. Cyrus was not just a king. He was the measure by which all kings would forever be judged. A legacy beyond time. The sands of time have covered the palaces of Persia, but they cannot bury the legacy of Cyrus the Great. His vision transformed tribes into a nation, and nations into a civilization. He taught the world that true power lies not in domination, but in justice. Though centuries have passed, his echo still resounds through the corridors of history. Kings have worn crowns, empires have risen and fallen, but only one remains eternal, the legacy of Cyrus, the King of Kings.